What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to After the Scales, episode 72, presented by DJD Graphics. I'm Jacob Dove of Phenom Motorsports, along with Shaun Blight of Canadian Racing Tours. And on today's episode, we're going to be having Bobby Elliott joining us, driver number 5E, All-Star Circuit of Champions Sprint Car. But before we have Bobby on, we just wanted to let you guys know and kind of update y'all what we've been doing. I've been pretty busy with myself, moving, and then also me and Shaun were at Eldora for the Dirt Late Model Dream. Spending a week in the campgrounds, getting rained on, but it was a great time. Shaun, you've been pretty busy yourself. What's been going on with you?
Yeah, so you've also moved in that time. So I don't know. In our little video preview here, you're looking a little blurry. So the sound quality is fine, but Jacob is not on Wi-Fi right now. So if the video quality is a little off, that's why. And yeah, we were at Eldora for the Dream. Your first time at Eldora, so we maybe should talk about that a little bit. But I love that place. We had a great time, hung out with Michael Leach quite a bit. And getting to see the late models up close is always cool. You're a big late model guy. You've never attended an event quite like that. So what was your takeaway?
Yeah, when we were driving up to the Big E for the first time, and it just all hits you at once. You see that big jumbotron at the track, and you see all these campers start filing, and it's like nothing you can really experience. And even you said it's not even close to how many campers really come out to Eldora for some of the other events. So, yeah, it was one of the best facilities I've ever been to as far as dirt tracks go. The environment, something definitely you have to experience at least once if you're a race fan. It was really cool getting the opportunity, both of us getting credentials, and big thanks to 357 World of Dirt for being there and doing some stuff for them for the media. I think the Flow Racing Media Center was probably one of the coolest moments going in there, seeing Michael Rigsby, seeing Tony Stewart. Hanging out in there with the snacks and editing and getting to charge and the air conditioning, it was definitely really cool, and hiding out during the rainouts was definitely ideal. But yeah, I mean, just hanging out with everybody every single night after in the pit area, walking on the track. You know, we were up I think till like 2:30 in the morning the first night, or like 3 o'clock. Just hanging out after the Flow Racing Night in America race, and you see Garrett Alberson hang out with some guy playing the banjo. I mean, you just don't see this on Flow
Yeah.
Racing until you're actually there.
Yeah, I've always said like the late model guys, and this isn't a knock on sprint cars or anything else, but the late model guys are just super down to earth. They're like just average Joes. You walk around the pits with a beer, and you see all these guys just you go up to them and you can shoot the shit with them, and they're cool, average, regular guys, and very approachable. And yeah, Garrett Alberson sitting around with a guy with a banjo. We saw just people, drivers mingling with fans, crew guys mingling with fans. The one night they had the concert, we saw drivers and car owners and James Essex up there hanging out. So it's just, if you've never been to Eldora, I imagine Knoxville is very similar too, even though I've never been there. But it's just a great opportunity, not only to watch some great racing, but to really get up and close and personal with some of these the crew members, the media people, the drivers. Really helps put kind of a human element to the guys that you're watching in the stands every night or on Flow.
Yeah, and I'm a person that really gets chills a lot, but I think I had it twice at least during that weekend. First, when I first went up to the track and seen it in person, and then on Friday night, that place was electric when Josh Rice pulled up the upset
Yeah,
win. That crowd was loud. It was electric. The after party was incredible. We just a bunch of people having fun. You mentioned James Essex. Anybody who knows me, he's one of my favorite announcers, and
he's the
him
best.
coming up to us and him. I can't quote exactly what he said to us, but he basically said, these effers are pretty crazy. It was kind of funny, and yeah, it was just a great environment and a great experience overall. Definitely going to be back at Eldora.
Yeah, it's I didn't grow up around late models, but I get the same kind of experience. We were up in the turn four tower, shooting for the Dream, and they're doing the four wide. The pyro's going off. The fans have their flashlights on. Music's playing. It's, how can you not get chills like when that's going on? I don't care if you're a sprint car guy or a late model guy. It's a really special place to watch a big race in person.
For sure. Definitely would like to see the Kings Royal. I wish I was there for the $1 million race. Hope they can bring that back soon. But
Yeah.
yeah, the sprint cars have been giving a lot of big money here recently with the Huset's High Banks. Buddy Kofoid picked up that $250,000 win. A lot of big sprint car races this summer. And our guest, Bobby, is running the All Star Circuit of Champions this year. They haven't had too many races. Unfortunately, they had some rainouts on their schedule. So hopefully they get going. But Bobby's a young driver who we've had our eye on, and we've had a similar guest, Darren Ida, who runs on the All Star Circuit Champions with him. So, yeah, Sean, kind of preview the people that might not know about Bobby.
Yeah, so I got the chance to meet Bobby for the first time at Oshweekend when the World of Outlaws were up here. So Bobby Elliott's sister Sydney is dating Skylar G. So Bobby and Sydney were up here just for the. Bobby was only up here for the first night for the Wednesday night show. He had to get back to Michigan for work, but had a great chat with him. Super personable guy, and I knew he was going to be racing Butler a couple weeks after that, and I was going to be there for the high limit race. So I caught up with him at Butler, and we had a lot more of a chance to chat and get to know each other. And man, just so much respect for him and his dad and what their little family team is doing. He made this show with high limit. He had a really strong run. I think he finished fourth in his heat race. So he started, I think, 12th or 13th or something like that. Like just a really, really solid night. And if you walk around the pits, you see what guys like Bobby are up against when you look over at Clausen Marshall Racing and Rudine and some of these big teams, and you wonder how they do it every night. And when we started doing this thing, um, we've had guests on that I don't know who they are until you introduce me, and likewise I bring on people that you don't know who they are, and you really get to know these people on a personal level and see how hard they work. And I used to cheer for drivers, and now I don't anymore. I cheer for people. People like Danny Sams and Bobby Elliott, um, guys trying to get their feet wet and trying to make their mark in this sport, and you see how hard they work behind the scenes. And it's something that fans maybe, I mean, at least for me, I didn't really fully appreciate until I started seeing it up close. And so Bobby's going to come on. He's going to talk about, you saw with the Ohio Sprint Week some of their struggles with parts breaking and having to miss some races. And Bobby's looking for some help and some sponsorship and looking for some support. And he's one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. So we really wanted to have him on. I know you've wanted to have him on for a while, so I'm glad that we could connect with him.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm glad you mentioned our buddy Danny because his story kind of comes from the same background. Bobby has that blank car, no graphics, no sponsors on it. Same thing, Danny, for the years that he was running down here in Florida, he always had a plain car, just trying to make the show every night. Now seeing, Danny with a full wrap by our buddy Darren is just really cool. And, Bobby could do the same thing. All he has to do is have just a couple good, really good races, a really good year, and next thing you know, you could be out on the high limit tour. So really excited to have him on, and we'll have him on after the scales after this message.
Scales is proudly presented by DJD Graphics. From commercial and personal vehicles to racing bikes and cars of all makes, models, and disciplines, DJD Graphics can fully customize your vehicle to suit your needs. For more information, contact Darren and visit his website at www.djdgraphics.com. Tell him Sean and Jacob sent you to receive special rates.
All right, joining us now out of Allenton, Michigan, driver number 5E Wing Sprint Car for the All-Star Circuit of Champions, Bobby Elliott. Bobby, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, no problem. Definitely excited. Uh, I've been wanting to be on this for a while now, and I'm pumped to be here and just been traveling a lot lately. But it's nice to sit down and talk about it a little bit and talk about what I've been up to. So yeah, definitely excited.
Yeah, unfortunately, the All Stars haven't raced too many races so far. A couple of rainouts here and there, but currently sitting 16th in points. Just talk about your 2025 season so far. Obviously, you're running a lot in Ohio and Pennsylvania. Just talk about how satisfied you are with some of the gains that you've made this year.
Yeah, so between all the races, we've ran mostly all-star races for us, but we've traveled, we've ventured out to Sharon, some high limit stuff, and even ran an outlaw show at Attica. And man, I've been more proud of this team and everything for battling everything we have. I mean, talking about high limit at Butler, we locked in right out of the heat race, and that was really cool and, good for our team, good step in the right direction. And going to Sharon and sitting on the pole of the feature and leading laps over Dale Blaney there. I mean, that was awesome, to be in front of the lowrider for a few laps at Sharon. That's a pretty neat deal, that's his track. So that's something I definitely was loving. And, going out to PA and racing the All-Stars, it was a tough deal and everything. But, we kept trucking and, I have a good crew behind me and everything. But the Ohio Sprint Speed Week, I'm not going to lie, it kind of beat us down a lot and kind of wasn't the nicest to us. That's for sure. We wrecked a few cars pretty badly and stayed up a lot of late nights and didn't get sleep most nights to be able to run some of those nights. So it's really been an adventure, but I haven't been more proud of what we've done, going out to Lincoln and Williams Grove and only missing the show by 3 spots both nights. And, I know this doesn't sound great for everyone, but for us, that's our first time out in Pennsylvania. I'm a young kid, and it's definitely been like fun to kind of learn a lot. And, you got to race the best to be the best. So definitely trying to chase down the high limit guys and the outlaw guys is always fun as well.
Yeah, so I wanted to pick your brain about Ohio Sprint Week a bit, but first let's talk about the positive. Because I met you we were doing a little intro, and I was saying that we met at Osh Weekend finally. We followed each other on social media, but and then I got to catch up with you at Butler quite a bit. And man, like, you were really fast. You were running right there with the best of them. And I was so pumped when you put it in the show, and like, you put it in the show pretty comfortably, which was really cool. So talk about what that night did to you and what it's like, what you take away from a learning experience like that when you're matching up against some of the best in the country.
Yeah, the thing is for us, we've raced that high limit net show now the last 2 years at Butler. And to be honest with you, our goal is like the same, put it in the show and figure it out from there. And to come out of the gate, I'm comfortable at Butler. I'm not going to lie. I've been there a few times on my own outside of the high limit stuff. But, that goes all to my dad and AJ for getting me so comfortable in these cars. And, they've really done a nice job of getting me more comfortable this year and not just getting the car where it should be. They're trying to make me comfortable in the car. So, in the heat race, locking in, I think we finished third in the heat race, to Courtney and Abreu. And it's cool to lock in behind those guys. And, we had a comfortable distance with people behind us, and to put it in the show by a few spots is just amazing. And to, have the, luxury of starting behind Tyler Courtney in a feature is pretty cool. I don't care if they're coming to your race or not, it's something you gotta be proud of. And it's something, this team's proud of. And, it makes my night a lot easier when we don't have to run a B main or anything. So it's good. It's less wear and tear and everything. It's good for a lot of things. And, I think that just helped everyone, to go to a familiar place and to put in a big show. Those guys are awesome, and they're really good, and racing with the best is going to put you in the best, like I said. So
I just jump in real
Bobby,
quick. Just a little side note, Bobby, about your heat race. It was really cool. Like, I don't know how big your fan club is, but I'm down there in the infield with all the other photographers, and we're all cheering for you. And we're all pumping our fists, watching you go around 3 and 4 for the checkered flag. You put it in the show, so it was a pretty cool experience to be down in the infield with a bunch of the local photographers, like from Michigan, Ohio, that get to see you race quite a bit and have gotten to know you and kind of joining on their little fan club and cheering you on. It was pretty cool.
No, that's awesome. It's always nice to hear. I love making fans. I love talking to people at the track. I love getting to know people. I think like one of the things is, if I'm probably the easiest person to come talk to at the track. If you want to like walk up to me and talk to me, I don't care. I'll walk up and talk to you, even if you don't look like you want to talk. I mean, I'll chat your ear off for a little bit. It kind of comforts me down in the car and gets me all kind of ready for the night. And it takes my mind away from the car real quick and gets me back to being Bobby Elliott. And that's part of it. And yeah, it's awesome to know. And, I know you guys are all pumped for me. I appreciated that a lot. It was awesome.
And Bobby, I wanted to go back a bit. Obviously, you're a young racer, and every driver has to start somewhere. So I'm intrigued to hear your story about how you got into racing. Usually, it's a family thing, but when you see a lot of kids these days, they get in the go karts, go straight into micro sprints, and some of them jump right into a sprint car after they've gone a couple years. So, kind of talk to us how you got into wing sprint car racing.
Yeah, so my dad, he kind of started me getting into my first form of racing. My dad didn't really race any cars or anything when he was younger, but he raced BMX bikes, and he always wanted to, but he couldn't. So when I was young, I was 5 years old. I practiced a quarter midget for the first time, and then from there it just kind of accelerated. We were national champions in quarter midgets for a few different classes, a few different years. So we went to Brickyard, we went Daytona, we traveled all over the country and raced quarter midgets, and that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed those times. I was really young and racing 3 or 4 classes. Your Honda and Briggs divisions. It was a lot of fun. And then it was kind of like the natural step up. It's just kind of micro sprints. We had bought quarter midgets off the Wises. I know that's a very familiar name nowadays, Zeb Wise and that. So when we bought the quarter midgets off Wises, Zeb was already racing micro sprints at the time, and you see all these people go up to the micro sprint ranks at the time. It was Justin Peck had made it to sprint cars through the micro sprint ranks, and Emerson Axon been doing the same thing as Zeb, and it was just kind of interesting to watch and see who was making it where from what they were getting through. And so we ended up, traveling to Indiana every weekend. We made 5 hours one way. We raced micro sprints at Peru and US 24. So that was kind of every week. That was our thing. On Saturday we'd be in Indiana, and it was a 10-hour drive minimum to a micro track for us. And that was an interesting deal. It was just kind of, we stayed at the same Cracker Barrel in Auburn, Indiana for about 2 years straight every Saturday night. And, I kind of made, it was kind of like being on the road for the first time. Got to go out to Illinois a few times and stuff like that. And then we ventured up to sprint cars. I live a half mile down the road from Brett Lane, and Brett Lane had kind of watched over me and took me to some speed weeks and stuff like that, and really let me kind of get hands on with a sprint car for the first time. And I spent a lot of time in their shop, and the natural move up was kind of just 360 sprint cars for me at the time. I didn't want to go into 410s because it was going to be a lot. So 360s, they run a lot in Michigan and Canada even. So we kind of went into those, and through that we progressed really good. We traveled to Florida and everything. We finished third with USCS down there and everything. It was good times, but then, it's time to move up to 410s, and Brett Lane gave me my first start in a 410 back in, I think Lernerville of 21 or 22, I think was my first start in a sprint car in a 410. So, yeah, through that, then we bought our own motor and everything and shoved in our 360 car and went 410 racing. And now this is my second full year of 410s, and just getting a lot of races under my belt, trying to get laps under my belt. It's definitely interesting because I've only just crossed about 45 races, or 50 now, I guess, with Speed Week with 410s. So it's interesting. I think I'm improving every race. I think I'm getting more consistent and aggressive as a driver. And yeah, I'm really enjoying the progression I'm taking, and just going to the track every week is getting easier and easier for me as a driver. And it's just, keeping the car good and just kind of letting me race and seeing where we end up. So I think it's getting better. I really enjoy our progression we made this year, and just every start gets better, I feel like.
Yeah. So you were, the Ohio Sprint Week was a grind for you guys. You made a post on Facebook that got me in the feels. I was really feeling for you, man. It was, but you were very open and honest about what a smaller team can go through, and you're not the only one, right? There's a lot of other, we had AJ Flick on, he's got a bigger team, but we had him on last year, and he wrecked his car his first night out at Port Royal, destroyed it, and he couldn't race for 2 or 3 months. Or he only had one car for 2 or 3 months.
Right.
So how do you kind of learn from that, move on from that, and maybe just talk about the support system you have, because gotten to know your sister Sydney quite a bit. Your family is obviously heavily involved with your racing, and very supportive from what I can see. So just talk about that experience and kind of going from there, going forward.
Yeah, so Speed Week, we had this one kind of start on the calendar. I feel like it could have, we knew it was going to be tough. That's all I'm going to say. And man, that first night we went out at Attica, we rained out, and just kind of from there, it never really got better than that. So we went to Millstream the next day, and had some issues where the frame snapped because I hit some holes so hard, which is uncharacteristic, but it happens. We snapped a frame. So we got back to the shop, and we stripped that car down, threw everything on the other car. And, like I said, not much sleep, and we went to Wayne County, and fortunately, I'm very comfortable at Wayne County, and we didn't have the nicest car, I wouldn't say, there to drive, and to be honest with you, we ran a lot of used stuff. Like I think people like 5 years ago wouldn't be running that stuff. So to throw that on a car and go and race, and we were really good in the B main, and it kind of carried over to the main event, the feature. We were trucking. I think we were up to 11th at the time, and just got into the turn, and something snapped in the left rear, and it peeled the car around and kind of toppled over, which unfortunately ended my night there, and ended up in the hospital that night. And just, man, all the people that came down and supported me and just asked me if I needed help, and man, everyone who just asked me if I was okay, it was really nice. I think people had really seen what we went through that night, and just between the 2 days, we'd already torn up 2 cars. So the next day, we got it was Eldora, and we had to take it off because we couldn't build another car in the time and everything. So what we ended up doing is taking Eldora off and rebuilding the car that we wrecked the first night. We went and got the frame done by Brandon Reel, and he fixed her up for us, and then we put it back together. So it's just kind of flip-flopping cars back and forth at this point, and went to Waynesfield and was really good until, a rear end exploded on me, and man, it could not have been the perfect storm. And then the next day at Moeller, we had another rear end issue, so we didn't even get to race. And then the last night, we finally figured out our rear end issues before heat races and went 9th to 4th in the heat or whatever, and was one spot out. And unfortunately, I cut the brake line somehow at Atomic, so it just kind of ended my night there. But I will say, like, it kind of is a testament to this team and this family. We don't give up, and my dad's always said, we're Elliott's, we don't give up, and we definitely don't. I will tell you, like at Moeller, I was pretty beat down, like not even to get on the track. I just wanted to shot at the night or whatever. I just wanted a shot at the end of the night. I wanted a shot at a Speed Week race, and I thought I hadn't even got that since Wayne County, and even Wayne County wasn't a great shot. I mean, it was a good one, but not an amazing one. So it was just one of those deals where I just wanted a shot to race, and I wanted a shot to put me up there. And I thought, it was really going to be a week for me to shine pretty much. I mean, 9 days straight, I haven't ever raced that many days in a row, and I haven't definitely ever raced. That's a quarter of my 410 races right there. It's 9 races. And it's like, it's crazy that we couldn't even get a shot to, finish out the week doing our own stuff. But, I will say I have a great family behind me. My mom, my dad, my sister are all very supportive. My sister runs a merch company, Race to Revive, and she does a really great job of that. She sells our t-shirts and a plethora of other stuff. So she does an awesome job on that. And, my dad's trucking up and down the road with us, and I think he got probably like the least amount of sleep all week. He was doing whatever it took for me to get on the, track. And I really appreciate that from him. And my mom, she would come down and she'd help us and clean the trailer, make sure we're fed. And even though we weren't hydrating, she'd give us a water bottle. It was great. She's really a great supporter. And so is everyone else. Everyone else asked me if I was, needed any help. And, the Leighton Wagner, they helped us out a lot, just making sure we were good at Moeller and everything. I know it's stressful to kind of pit next to a team that has some issues, but they really helped us out. And they're a lot of good people, called me, make sure I was okay and everything. And, I just can't thank all of them enough. But yeah, definitely got a great family behind me. And AJ Stewart's my crew chief. And, he honestly, I wouldn't have blamed him if he wanted to walk away from this week. I mean, he did not sleep much, and he worked his butt off along with everyone else. And, he really pulled through with us, and gave me a good car every time I could race on the track, and really put me in a comfortable position to drive the crap out of whatever car I was in. Didn't matter what frame or what car, or what parts we had in the car. It mattered, I was in my head where I was just like, I want it, and I want it bad. And I thought this was just the week where I needed to want it more than anyone else. And especially those 8th and 9th days, you got to want it more than the guy next to you. I don't care, especially at that point, it doesn't matter, how good your car is or whatever. You got to want it. And I think we wanted it more than anyone. Unfortunately, it just didn't play out in our cards. So.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about some of the competition that you're stacked up against, Bobby, because, last year we didn't have the All-Star Circuit of Champions. Growing up, watching with the World of Outlaws and their product, and the All-Stars with Tony Stewart and High Limit coming in and taking over that. And then getting the All Stars to come back out of the blue was really a shock to the sprint car community, but also a really good stepping stone because we need a series with 410s that is a stepping stone to get to the high limit and World of Outlaws level. And when I think of the top three states in the country that have the best sprint car racing, I think of Pennsylvania, California, and Ohio. So you spending a lot of time running in Ohio and there in Michigan. Definitely a good stepping stone for you to get to a high limit or World of Outlaws one day with the right opportunity. So, being a small family blue collar team, and if there's any businesses or people out there watching this episode, Bobby, kind of come up with a thing that you would like to pitch because obviously you have a blank car, no sponsors, no graphics. You're out there doing the best you can. So what would you say to that person on why they should support you? Maybe buy a t-shirt and really support your family racing.
I will say one of the biggest things is we're a family doing it first off. And, we're not no big, I guess, fancy operation or anything. We do what we can with what we have. And I think we've done a really good job with that. I mean, we've put me in great situations, and, all I need is just a little bit more, support and help. And I feel like we really take this thing to the next level. And, especially with the All Stars, we do it with one motor and, 1.5 cars, I say. And, even then we're probably one of the smallest teams on the tour. And, man, we're a gritty bunch. We don't stop fighting. That's for sure. I think Ohio Sprint Speedway can be a testament to that. And just, at times, I show so much, just speed, and, we really just need to put a night together to have a win under our belts at this point. And, it's hard to do that with the All Stars, especially. I've never been someone who's afraid to step down from challenges and competition. I feel like you can see that with what I've raced and how many All Stars, High Limit, and World of Outlaws or shows I've raced and attempted. It's been a grind, and we're a team that's not going to give up, and we're a team that's pushed through. And if anyone wants to go watch back like the B main and the from Wayne County, I think you can see we came from 9th, and I rolled my way to a top 4 transfer spot. So that's something we don't give up, and that's not even our best equipment. I mean, no one's really gotten a chance to see what we have been doing on the best stuff. So just that. I mean, anyone who wants to support or whatever, I got Facebook, Instagram, anything like that, and reach out to me. Always got room on the car for anyone, any price range or budget or anything. Heck, even a right rear tire at this point helps. We don't run new tires every night. We just we budget like one every few weeks. And like I said, we do well with what we have. And at this point, a little bit more help would go a long way. So anyone who reaches out, I'll be for sure to entertain anything. So.
All right. Looking ahead, it's crazy to think it's the end of June already. Talk about some of the events that you've got coming up, Bobby, that you're looking forward to. Where can people see you?
Man, I'm excited for Mercer this weekend a little bit. I've ran there a few times, so it's been interesting, to go back to tracks I know and tracks I'm familiar with. Mercer will be a fun one for sure. I got some people out there and fans that are excited to see me. The whole All-Star schedule, that's basically my schedule at this point, as well as going to Florence for the high limit stuff. I love Florence. Florence is probably one of my favorite tracks, old late model track down there in Kentucky. And I love that place. It's right against the fence, and that's where I love to run. And pretty much the All-Star schedule the rest of the year is my schedule. So I can't wait to be in Michigan, though. I'll tell you that. I-96 in Hartford. I love Hartford. I ran that in 360s, and we won a heat race and everything. And that's a place I love going, is Hartford, kind of a bigger track, kind of 3/8 to half mile. And, you gotta put it up on the cement cinder blocks or down on the cement cinder blocks or wherever you want to be. I mean, it's a tricky little track, and I-96 is a good deal. Definitely love being in Michigan. It's still a 2.5 hour drive for me, but it's Michigan, it's home. It's, the turf you want to kind of defend and everything as an all-star and everything. So that's for sure something I'm really excited for, is Hartford 96 with the All-Stars. And yeah, Florence for sure, high limit. I love racing those guys, and I love racing Florence. So.
Well, we really appreciate your time, Bobby. We could probably talk for hours and hours, I'm sure. But before we let you go, we wanted to do our DJD Gear Rapid Fire segment where we ask you 10 questions. Just come up with the first answer that comes to mind, and Shaun's going to fire them off.
Oh,
All right.
great.
We'll go easy. All right. We like to ask this of people from smaller towns. What's the best thing to do in your hometown of Allenton, Michigan?
Go out to eat at Armada Bar and Grill or probably Papa's. Yeah.
All right. What's your favorite track that you've raced on so far?
Winston Speedway in Michigan.
What's a track that you haven't raced at that's number one on your bucket list?
Port Royal.
All right. That's a badass joint. Uh, who are some of your racing heroes growing up?
Brent Marks. I loved watching Brent Marks always, and Cody Dara.
Oh, good. Yeah, I was a big Cody Dara fan back in the day. Um, best place to stop and eat on the road?
Sheets.
Good answer. Popular answer. What's a song that pumps you up before a race?
Uh, Metro Boomin. Shoot, what's the name of the song? Man, I don't know. I'll just go a country song. I'll go Long Hot Summer.
All right. Who's the best racing Bobby? Bobby Unser, Bobby Rahal, Bobby Pierce, or Ricky Bobby?
Ricky Bobby.
All right. We've got a couple of fan questions because you do have a big fan club. This one comes in from Sydney E. She didn't give her last name.
Yeah.
She wants to know, what does your dad say about putting your four ways on at the racetrack?
Yeah. So don't pull over to let anyone pass you. We were at Waynesfield, and he said I put my four ways on for someone to pass me. So yeah, don't do that. Don't run the bottom. Don't run the bottom at Waynesfield.
And I got one more. What does your crew chief AJ say when you or your dad bump your head on the wing when working on the car?
Gonna be there all year, bud.
All right, last one because I have a sister as well, so I thought you'd like this one. What's the one thing that your sister did growing up that was guaranteed to start a fight?
Probably still starts fights, but definitely trying to tell me I'm wrong or I'm lying about something when I'm not.
I've got a younger sister, and I always got in trouble. And my mom will admit
Oh
that
yeah, I feel you.
she
I
was
feel
wrong,
you.
but she was wrong looking back. And I mean, anything with the remote control, anything to do with the remote control would start a fight, guaranteed. So, and I've taken a lot of pictures this year, but that one at Oshweekend of your sister giving you the side eye, one of my favorites. So it's been a blast, man, getting to know you, your sister, hanging out with you guys. Are you going to be at Eldora for Kings Royal hanging out at any point?
No, I will not be. I don't think I'll be down there that week. Just got a lot of all-star stuff to take care of. Got a lot of frames to fix, and yeah, I got some racing stuff to do. So
Fair enough, man. I'm sure we'll catch up with you again at some point. Thanks so much for coming on, man. Really appreciate it. Good luck the rest of the year, and we'll catch up with you.
yeah, thank you guys for having me on. Appreciate it a lot, and yeah, enjoy you guys' nights. And seriously, I'll see you guys soon. Seriously, come up, say hi. I'll give you a t-shirt.
You know I
Talk to
will.
me.
Thanks, Bobby.
Thanks.